We all hopefully permit to be recorded. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Ashley, does this mean too that you can see if people are in the waiting room?
I can.
Good. Okay. All right. Okay. In case you don't know, it's day one. Here we are. Okay. Want to welcome everybody. Now, if you have not seen the PowerPoint that we made, the slides that we made showing everybody, and we introduced you to each other by cohort, and the sentence or two that you gave us to introduce yourselves, there's the link. And I will, by the end of today, everything's going to be all in the same Google Drive. Apologies to those of you who've had a little trouble getting through to Google Drive. I think I've got this worked out now. Let's see. We have 37 students, nearly equal gender. This is great. We've got 29 PhD students and 1 postdoc. These are your Shine mentors. Some of the mentors have 2 of you in a lab. Those are the more experienced mentors who have been doing it for a long time. We've paired you in research groups as much as possible. We think that's great. You have a chance to learn from each other. And there are 22 professors. We will also be calling professors principal investigators or PIs, because even more than professing, even more than teaching, they are investigators. And as you will learn today, they are the principal investigators of their research groups. And so one of the things that I'd like you to get out of today is getting a sense of how research groups are set up so that you can navigate them pretty well. Okay, one way of looking at all of you as a cohort, you guys are very smart. You've got a huge GPA, unweighted. Really good scores, many perfect scores among you. You come from a wide variety of schools, 70% public schools, 30% private. We're going to talk about privilege and who has access to what in a minute. We've got 4 of you from Harvard Westlake. Diamond Bar, we always have a steady stream of students from there. This year we've got 3 from Arcadia. And a few other schools where we've got more than 1. And we have a number of schools that are sending us Shine students every year. So that's great. Because we're remote this year, we have divided you up into subgroups. I think that you're all aware of this. What we've done is we've put it on a continuum of research categories that are more computational, and all the way to the ones that are more of a wet lab. You can see that most of you, 43%, are in wet labs. That's biomed, engineering, chemical engineering, and environmental. On the far end of the continuum is computational. 24 of you are in robotics, 24%. Same amount in electrical and material science. And the least of you are in civil, aerospace, and mechanical. It just changes every year. Most years we have more aerospace professors. And as you know, it's the professor that lets you into his or her lab. And a lot of that depends on how many PhD students they have that year, whether or not they're starting a family that year. So this is different every year. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it's interesting. Okay, I want to talk about that. Even though it's kind of sad that we can't be seeing each other face to face, and we aren't going to be, especially used in wet labs, aren't going to be pipetting and DNA sequencing and stuff like that. I do want to say that this is really an amazing time to be coming together as a cohort and learning about research. First of all, obviously there's COVID, And you will understand more about COVID without studying much about COVID, simply by understanding the research process more. And that's important. Also, the fact that Black Lives Matter is at the forefront, not only in the streets, not only in the courts, but also in research groups. And we're going to talk about that too. That was one of the readings I had you do. We're going to talk about that more because it all reflects on what I want you to understand this week and through these next 7 weeks. And that is how scholarly knowledge is produced. The way that research groups contribute to scholarly knowledge and how that has broader impacts in society. Okay. This is one way of looking at the cohort also is the way that you are dispersed. Some of you are from the Bay Area. Remote actually really helped with that. And also spread out. We kind of are, maybe you might consider this somewhat arbitrary, the way we've organized this, and you can argue with this, but let's not even go there. Just wanted to have you get a sense of whom you might be living near in case social shelter at home continues to be relaxed. It might be that those of you living on the west side or those of you living in Orange County maybe will get together socially distanced at a park or some place where you can actually see each other face to face. So I wanted to use this geography as a way of having you introduce yourselves to the group. We're going to go through this fairly quickly. What I'd like to, I'm going to unmute everybody and we're going to go in this order so you don't have to be confused about your order. And if we got it wrong, if you're not actually in Northeast LA or you don't call it Verdugo's, that's okay. Let's just go in this order anyway, and there'll be time to correct this later. We're going to talk about a lot of different ways to aggregate or parse this cohort. This is just one way. We'll be doing it different ways throughout these next, definitely these next 3 weeks. So, Ashley, can you unmute everybody for me? So Brenda, we're going to start with you. We don't have to go right this sec. So what I'd like you to do is just say your first and last name, what grade you'll be in this fall in high school, and what research group you're in. Is it biomed? Is it aerospace and stuff like that? And your professor's name, if you've remembered your professor's name.
Okay.
Okay. I will, let's see. As you speak, the camera's going to go to you. So that's how we get to see your face. But I'm going to have to leave this up so that everybody knows where to go next.
Okay.
Okay. Everybody ready? Everybody ready? Okay. Brenda.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Brenda Bonsal. Obviously, I'm in the East Bay. So I'm going to be a junior next year at Dory Valley High School. And the cohort that I'm in is robotics under Professor Nora Ayanyan. And my partner is Anthony. And we're going to be under our mentor, Eric Ewing. It's good to meet you all.
Great. Jesse.
Hello, my name is Jesse Chen. I'm going to be a rising senior next year at Mission San Jose High School. I'll be working under the robotics department with Professor Culbertson and my partner Samantha.
Great. Rupali.
Hi, my name is Rupali Sarathi. I'm a rising senior at Dublin High School this year. I'm under the mechanical engineering department with Professor Oberai.
You just keep going, you guys. You know who's next.
My name is Michelle. My name is Michelle Ellis. I'm a rising senior at Southgate High School, and I'm in the biomedical subgroup when my partner is Alexis.
Hi, my name is Alexis Adil, and I'm a rising senior. And my partner is Michelle, and I'm under the Professor Savaleta. I believe that's her name. I'm sorry, I mispronounced that.
No, great, did good.
And I'll be studying biomedical engineering.
Great.
My name is Maricela, and I will be under chemical engineering with Professor Nick Graham.
Good.
Hey everyone, I'm Anthony Flores-Alvarez. I'm a rising senior at Manual Arts High School, which is actually in South LA and where I spend most of my time, but I'm from Central LA. I'm in the robotics lab under Dr. Nora Yanyan, and my partner is Brenda.
Hi, my name is William Coe. I'm a rising junior at Downtown Magnets High School. I'm in the biomedical cohort with working under Professor Chen, and my partner is Yuban.
Hello, my name is Ethan. I'm going to be in 10th grade during the fall, and I live in Koreatown, and I'm going to be in the civil engineering field with Professor Berserk Gerber.
Berserk Gerber. Turkish name, hard to pronounce. We have a lot of names that are hard to pronounce, so I can help you with any of them. Great, okay, Scarlett.
Hi, I'm Scarlett. I live in Hollywood and I'm a rising junior at Harvard Westlake, and I'll be researching under Professor McCurry in the environmental lab.
Asa.
Hey, I'm Asa Garner. I'm a rising senior at Pilgrim School. I'll be researching at the Aerospace Fluid Dynamics lab with Professor Luhar.
I'm Monacy. I'm a rising senior at Immaculate Heart High School. I'll be part of the Material Science lab with my lab partner Talia, and we're under Professor Ravi Chandran.
Okay. Eric. Eric. All right. Make sure he's not having technical problems. You know, I'm assuming that you all have...
Hi.
Hey, Eric.
Oh, sorry, I muted myself accidentally. So my name is Eric Chicoine. I'll be a rising junior. I'll be studying under Professor Sedaris in the electrical engineering cohort.
Great.
Thanks.
I'm Nikita Slapsis. I'm a rising junior at Crescenta Valley High School, and I'll be working in the robotics subgroup with Professor Nicolaides.
My name is Ethan Lee, and I'll be a rising junior at Crescenta Valley High School as well. And I'm in the biomedical engineering group under Professor Chung with my partner Jason.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Lily Bailey. I'm a rising senior at Harvard Westlake. I'm going to be studying chemical engineering this summer under Professor Rich Roberts, and my partner is Stella.
Hi, my name is Stella Greinberg. I'm a rising senior at the Archer School for Girls, and I will also be studying chemical engineering under Professor Roberts. And my partner is Lily.
Cool. I'm Atalia Marone. I'm a rising senior at Harvard Westlake, and I'm going to be studying materials under Professor Ravi Chandran with my partner Monacy.
Now, I think that Samantha's having a family emergency today. So, Samantha, are you here? Okay. We'll skip on to Hannah then.
Hi, I'm Hannah Peckett. I'm going to be a senior next year at Hamilton High School, and I'm in the biomedical sub-cohort with, under Professor McCain, and my partner is William Pan.
I'm Tyler Wigan. I'm a rising senior at Harvard Westlake, and I'm going to be in the electrical department under Professor Kapadia, and my partner is Darwin.
Hi, I'm Jason Chen. I'm a rising senior at Phillips Exeter Academy. I'll be working in the environmental subgroup with Professor Smith and my partner Nika.
Hi, my name is Coco Ma, and I'm a rising senior at Wana High School. I will be working in the robotics department with Professor Nguyen.
So you guys know that we skipped over the San Gabriel Valley. So we'll keep up. We'll go with Darwin and then Jacob, and then we'll go back up to Ruth, and then we'll go down to Nico.
Oh,
okay?
my bad.
Hey, you know what? We all make mistakes. No big deal. So Darwin, you get to go next.
Hello everyone, my name is Darwin Zhang, and I'm a rising senior at Diamond Bar High School, and I'll be working with Professor Kapadia in his electrical engineering lab with my partner, Tyler.
Jacob.
Hi, so I'm Jacob. I am a rising senior at Diamond Bar High School. So my partner is going to be Annika, and I am in the robotics sub-cohort, and I'm under Professor Moderic.
And it's Materik.
Materik, sorry.
It's Serbian. Don't worry. I can't pronounce some of your names, so no big deal. Professor Materik is also my boss. Materik. Okay, back up to Ruth.
Hi, my name is Ruth Birkin. I'm a rising junior at Arcadia High School, and I'm in the robotics subcohort with Professor Nicolaitis.
Hi, I'm Jasper. I'm a rising senior at Loxa. I'm in the chemical engineering groups, and I'll be researching under Professor Lee.
Joseph.
I already went. That was my bad.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yubin.
Hi, I'm Yubin Lee. I will be a rising junior at South Pasadena High School. This summer, I'll be studying in the biomedical engineering field with Professor Shen, and my partner is William Ko.
Brandon.
Hi, I'm Brennan Leong, and I'm going to be a rising junior at Arcadia High School. And I'm in the electrical cohort under Professor Nuzzo, and my partner is Rachel Lowe.
Hi guys, my name is Rachel Lowe. I'm going to be a rising senior at Arcadia High School, and I'll be working in the electrical lab under Professor Nuzzo with Brandon.
Great. Okay, Nico.
Hi, I'm Nico, a rising senior at Sage Hill School, and I'll be studying environmental engineering under Professor Smith with Joseph.
Excuse me, I actually haven't gone yet.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Oh, excuse me, I haven't gone yet. I think we messed up on the west part.
Oh no, who is this?
Oh no, it's Jason.
Jason, we'll go.
Oh yeah, my name is Jason Liu. I'm a rising senior at Diamond Bar High School, and I will be working under Professor Chong in biomedical engineering, and my partner is Ethan Lee.
Okay, sorry we missed you. Now, if I can't see you, is everybody able to access on their computers, or are some people coming in? If you're coming in by phone, say something right now so I know.
Oh wait, I have a phone, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that mean you can't see the slides, or can you? Okay.
I can.
Okay, that's what I really wanted to know. Okay. So, where are we? Are we at William P?
Yeah. So my name is William Pan, and I'm a rising senior at Northwood High School, and I'm in the biomedical cohort with under Professor McCain, and my partner's Hannah.
Hi, my name is Alan Wing, and I'll be a rising senior at Beckman High School. And I'll be studying in the aerospace lab with Professor Ivan Bermejo Moreno and his PhD, and my PhD mentor, Jonas, I don't know how to pronounce that last name, Buchmeyer? Buchmeyer? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either, and I'm not even sure. Professor Bermejo Moreno is Spanish. So he calls Jonas, Jonas. And I don't know if he does that because Jonas is how he pronounces his name, because maybe he's from a country that pronounces J's as Y's. So you'll have to find that out and let me know. Okay, Annika.
Hi, I'm Annika Modi. I'm going to be a rising senior at Canyon High School, and my robotics sub. Wait, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought like my audio was off.
No, you're good.
Okay. I'm part of the robotics subgroup under Professor Materik, and my partner is Jacob.
Hi, I'm Ella. I'll be a junior at Troy High School next year, and I'm in the chemical cohort with Professor Ted Lee, and my partner is Jasper.
Maddie Yee, you're last.
Hi, I'm Maddie. I'm going to be a rising junior at Sage, and I'm in the aerospace cohort under Professor Luhar.
Great. You guys are awesome. Okay, I would also like to introduce you to Catalina Juarez, who is my associate. There is so much paperwork or spreadsheet work and organization to go into running Shine. And I couldn't do it without Catalina or the center mentors. I'm going to ask Catalina to introduce herself, and then we're going to go to the center mentors. So Catalina.
Hi, good morning. My name is Catalina Juarez. So I work with the K-12 STEM Center, and in the past I've worked on different projects. I think I've mentioned before with undergrads, with NASA, and then I started working at USC several years ago, mostly with undergrads, but this last year I've been working with K-12 programs.
Thank you. Couldn't do this without Catalina. I also couldn't do this without the center mentors. So I'm going to ask Ashley to introduce herself. Let's see, let's do it by Ashley, and then we'll say Erica. Well, first I'm going to introduce all of the Shine alumni. So it'll be Erica next, Marcus, Sarah, and then we're going to go to Paula, and then finally to Kendall. So Ashley.
Hi everyone, I'm Ashley Pettis. I did Shine in 2018. Now I'm a rising sophomore at USC studying computer science and game design. That's all. Nice to meet you.
Erica.
Hi, my name is Erica de Guzman. I'm a rising sophomore at USC studying computer science. I did Shine in 2018, and I'll be mentoring the electrical and materials subcohort.
And you did, I guess you guys should also say that Ashley studied with Professor Materik. Erica studied with Professor Basarik Gerber. So if you guys have questions, but now.
And I also work for Professor Materik now.
Exactly, good, okay. Marcus.
Hi, I'm Marcus. I'm an incoming freshman at USC in the fall. And I did Shine 2018. I was in Dr. Nicholas Graham's lab.
Great. Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I did Shine 2019, and I was in Professor Adam Smith's lab, and I worked with Yamra and Melly. That's an environmental engineering lab, by the way.
Thank you. Marcus and Sarah are volunteering their services this summer, so that is really awesome. Paula.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay. I'm Paola, and I am a rising sophomore studying computer science and game design, and I'll be the Shine Center mentor for biomed, chemical, and environmental, along with Sarah and Marcus.
Kendall. Is Kendall here? Nope. Okay. Paula is in Chicago. Kendall is in St. Louis. Maybe he's eating lunch right now. All right. Okay, so, and I'm Dr. Mills. I started Shine. This is our 6th summer of Shine. Shine is my favorite part of the whole year. So a little bit about me. This is my career track, and I hope that is a really good lesson for all of you. My undergraduate degree is in nutrition science, so I was a STEM undergraduate. I went to UC Berkeley. I came from an art family. My father was an art museum director. So I'm the oldest child, and if you know, oldest kids have to rebel. And so being from an art family, usually people who are in science families rebel and they go into art, but I was from an art family, so I rebelled and I went into science. When I graduate in nutrition science is a lot of biochemistry. And I was really fortunate right after I got out of with my Bachelor of Science degree. I went to work for a vitamin supplement company that hired a lot of UC Berkeley alum. I started out in research and development, helping to formulate vitamin supplements for people in Germany and Japan and stuff like that. That was a really great job. But I discovered on the job that I didn't really have, I loved science, but I didn't really have the personality of a scientist, whatever that is. What I thought was the personality of a scientist at age 22. So after a few years in research and development, I moved into marketing at the same company because I have one of those outgoing personalities. And then and I stayed in marketing. So I switched jobs a little bit after that. And I stayed in marketing. And I was, after a few years, I kind of got wondering if this is all there is to life. I was interested in marketing and advertising, and I was curious how images and words made people want things. So I was curious about advertising. So I wanted to think about that a little more deeply. And I started taking a graduate level class in art history, graduate level class in media studies, not intending to do anything like get an advanced degree, but that's a slippery slope. The more you study, the less you realize you know. And let's just make a long story short, in about another 10 years, I ended up with a PhD in film and literature and culture from USC. So then I taught at USC I taught at USC the whole time I was getting my PhD. And then I taught at USC for 3 years after that. Then I went to Occidental College and I taught writing and film there. And then I was never on the tenure track. We're going to talk about tenure, which means I was always an adjunct professor, which means I worked really hard and I didn't earn enough money. So after about 11 years past PhD, I decided to go back into marketing. I worked in film marketing for a while, and then my company got sold. And there I was, not without a job. So this job at USC opened up to do marketing, communications for the Viterbi School of Engineering to K-12. It fit everything, my education background, my science background, and my communications background. So that's how I got here. That's a little bit about me. I am white. I'm not the first in my generation to go to college. My mom was the first in her generation to go to college, and she put herself through school back in the days when you could put yourself through school. We're going to talk about how identity affects us a little bit too. So let me pause here and see, are there any questions? No questions in chat because I can't see chat. Okay, how are we on time? Ooh, we did all of that in 35 minutes. Pretty good. Why doesn't everybody just get up, stand up for a sec? We're gonna go on, but you might want to get up. We will take a break, about a 5-minute break, just before 10 o'clock. So if you need a break, it's coming. All right. Now, there are quite a few things that I want to introduce you to today, so that you just kind of have the infrastructure that you need, because this is so unlike school. What I'm going to talk a lot about today are the explicit rules of doing research and the implicit rules, because for these first few weeks, you're going to be learning by osmosis. Now, I hope all of you who are on the computational side know what the word osmosis means. You're just going to learn these implicit rules by being around. I'm going to try to make it as easy for you as possible. And the whole point of getting to know each other is you're going to learn from each other. When you can't do that, or even when you can, you've always got the center mentors, you've got me. Let's talk about how you have access to us. But actually first, I wanted to say, okay, geography is just one way that we get to know one another. I'm pretty sure Catalina put us into alphabetical order, maybe by last name. You've already sort of met each other by sub-cohort. We are going to talk about race. We're not going to talk about gender so much. Race is really what's up right now these days. We're not really going to talk about sexual orientation, this kind of school you came from, whether you're a first-generation scholar or a legacy family, which means maybe you have parents that went to USC, whether your political affiliation, your astrological sign. As you can see, there's a lot of ways we could be connecting with one another. I bring up Gemini, Cancer, and Leo, not so much because I'll tell you, my sister is a certified astrologist. She looks at my chart, she says, Katie, you're destined to be a teacher. And I go, Megan, I am a teacher. You didn't need to read my chart. But I mentioned Gemini, Cancer, and Leo because we have a lot of birthdays happening in these next 7 weeks. Okay. Oops, let's skip that one. Okay, so that finishes up how we get to know one another. We're going to come back to that, but I thought you might like to see what we're doing. So this week 1, and really what you're going to be doing these 7 weeks, but what I want to really help you on board about this first week is moving from being a student to a research scientist. And what I want to emphasize this week is how is scholarly knowledge produced? So that's going to be our theme today and Wednesday. We're going to meet from 9 to 11. On Friday, we're going to meet from 9 to 12. If you don't know what Juneteenth is, we'll talk about that on Juneteenth. Okay, so we will only do these morning meetings this first week. Just want to give you that sort of overview. Then you'll have a break and then open time to meet with your mentor or your principal investigator. Now, this is just, you know, approximate, like I believe it's Alan who's meeting with his professor, Bermejo Moreno. I might not remember that right at 11:15. So this is approximate. When we talk about the hierarchies in research groups, you will learn that the professor, the principal investigator, again, those are the same synonymous words, they're in charge of their research group. So I can't tell them when they need to meet with you. I can just tell them when I'm meeting with you. So hopefully by now, everybody has a sense of when you're meeting with your mentor. If that, can I get a thumbs up if that's the case? And will people help me look? If you know you've got a meeting with your PhD mentor or your PI, you good? Can my center mentor see? Has everybody got a thumb up? Pretty much? Okay, if you don't have them set up, then let me know. Okay. The center mentors have already started checking in with you. So they're going to focus on the days that you're not working with your mentors. But, you know, if they can meet with you on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, that's great. Tuesdays and Thursdays, most every single Tuesday and Thursday from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, I'm going to have office hours. That means I'm going to be hanging out on this Zoom and you can just drop in, we can chat, we can talk about what you're learning this summer and shine. We can talk about how I made that transition from STEM to humanities. We can just talk about what you're missing this summer because you're in shelter at home. I really want to thank the center mentors. They've already hosted they call it game night. It was game afternoon, but a happy hour, which may not necessarily be games. Okay, that's going to be the first week. And like I said, there's going to be lots of opportunities throughout these 7 weeks to bond. So not only with your center mentors, but me, and in more casual ways too. Center mentors are going to bond with you as a sub-cohort and as individuals. Okay, week 2, we start going into trainings, right? We're going to have Matlab training, and Kendall is a whiz at Matlab. He's going to introduce you to it. Then there's going to be an online tutorial that we're going to ask you to take. I'll say a little bit more about Matlab in a second. So people are going to be taking the Matlab tutorial on their own, but we think it would be great if you would just sort of Zoom, take it individually together on Zoom. Then Kendall will have office hours. Oh, he's actually going to have them 2 days. I didn't put it here. So if you got any questions or anything like that, you can always ask him. Tuesday the 23rd, I'm going to be at a virtual conference. So the center mentor is going to stand in for me with office hours, but I'll be back on Thursday. So we've got Matlab training. Everybody needs to attend the lab safety training Wednesday afternoon. Now, there's going to be a lot of certificates that people can get in Shine this summer. Lab safety training, you can't go into a lab, especially a wet lab, unless you have a certificate in lab safety training. I want you all to take it, because even if you are only interested in robotics, you're still, at some point in your life, you're going to be in a lab where you're going to need to know lab safety. Friday morning, we start doing library training. This is part of understanding the really key part of the production of scholarly knowledge, and that is distributing that information. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about it on Wednesday and Friday and next week also. And then again, another opportunity just to chill and hang out with the center mentors. Okay, so you get a lot of help. Now, there are going to be a lot of trainings. And so here's just a quick look at the different kinds of trainings. Now, over half of you are partners at the Chamber of Commerce. There's an educational component at the Chamber of Commerce. It's called Unite LA. And they've partnered with Workforce Ready, which is a platform that's teaching remotely good career skills, job search skills, workforce ready skills. And that was offered to all of you, and over half of you took it up. Some of you are in your first week or second week, and some of you are, so you're paced a little differently, but at the end of that, I believe it's a 12-hour program. You will get a certificate and learn some skills. The center mentors know who of you are involved with that. If you missed it and you don't know what I'm talking about, I can tell you more later. I think it's too late to join, but it's okay, you got plenty to do. We are, in addition to what the mentors are going to train you in, we've been working with them to identify trainings that a good portion of them are going to want you to take. So I mentioned Matlab already, and that is a coding for data visualization. And you can see over half of you are going to be taking Matlab. So that's why we started on a week from today. Almost half of you are going to be taking various levels of classes in linked learning on Excel, because Excel can do a lot of data visualization as well. A little over a third of you are going to have some Python tutorials that your mentors have told us they want you to take. Almost half of you are going to be accessing USC servers through the virtual private network. That was caused some confusion on Friday because Catalina told you how to log into it, but you weren't officially Shine students until today, so now you can do it. Okay, let me see. I think I got another slide. Yeah. If you're curious, if you're going to be taking Matlab, you can see that it's especially electrical and material science, also especially aerospace. Aerospace uses a lot of Matlab, mechanical. Next up is the Biomed Chem Engineering Environmental Group. Robotics, you guys are so computational. You're just, Matlab will probably be easy for you, but only about a third of you will be taking that. So don't worry about this. Don't stress about whether or not you can learn this stuff, because you can. And if you can't, there's going to be help. Okay? So the biggest thing I want to say to all of you is don't stress. We know if you attended the panel, the alumni panels, you will know that everybody stresses coming into Shine. There's a lot that's scary because it's new, but that's all. We're not asking you, we're not testing you, we're not trying, it's the way you do well here is not the way you do well in school, okay? I remember Marcus saying that, no, it was Achintya. He said that he was scared when he got accepted because he didn't expect to be accepted to Shine. So you got a lot of support here, so don't panic. Okay, then week 3, we're gonna start looking at peer-reviewed literature this week, but we're really gonna immerse in it. And so that you're gonna see how important publication of the research results is to each of your research groups. And you're gonna learn how to do deeper research into the publications that your PI and your PhD student mentors have done. So there's a little preview of the first 3 weeks. Then we have a break. Then we have a long weekend. Nobody works on Friday. I forgot to say, this Friday we have a guest speaker. Next Friday we have the librarians as guests. And then we have Professor Ren, who used to work at Snapchat and now teaches here in computer science. So whenever possible, I'm gonna have guest speakers in as well. So that'll be Tuesday afternoon. He can tell you a little bit about how he helped Snapchat keep you hooked on Snapchat. So that might be interesting to you. Okay, now I want to say thank you. All of you in the cohort, you and your families had to sign your code of conduct that if you forgot what it was about, it talked about how you're gonna have academic integrity, no plagiarism, no faking results, nothing like that. There's gonna be no sexual harassment of any sort. Safety first. That's a little less important now that we're remote, but there's still protocols for being online and being safe, including protocols about avoiding sexual harassment. The code of conduct asked you not to photograph or videotape without permission. You'll notice that we are recording this, but you had to opt into that. You have to comply with all laws. That makes sense. And that if you violate this code of conduct, and some harm results, that you will hold USC harmless for that. Okay. In addition, all of your the center mentors, all the staff, me, all of your Shine mentors have all also signed a separate code of conduct. We've all taken an online training in how to prevent and recognize sexual harassment. And every one of us has had a police background check to make sure that we have no weirdness going on, and we don't, so we're good. So these are sort of official. These are the explicit rules for how we're going to conduct ourselves. I'd like to take a moment and ask about any additional group norms that you would like to suggest. how would you like us to respect one another and treat each other well? Let's see. Ashley, can you take us off of, if we're on group mute?
Oh, they can unmute themselves whenever they want.
Okay. And also you can put into chat. So this is going to be awkward silence if people don't suggest ways that you would like to be treated and you would like to have come as a group norm. So I'm going to open it up to the group. How would you like to be treated in these Zoom sessions?
I'll just speak personally. Rather, I'm not sure if everyone else will have like the same mindset as me.
Thank you, Alan.
But I'm just gonna say I'm generally like a very open guy. So I'm like, it's okay for me to get like poked fun of or teased, and I'll just be going on. I'll go with it because I do think it's funny and I enjoy my laughs, especially in a group. And I know it's kind of privileged to say this, but I really won't take anything into offense if you just go over the line on accident. And I hope that everyone knows that I'll just be chill with a lot of things.
Thanks, Alan. So tolerance, a certain amount of joking around.
I also wanted to kind of mention that kind of a key one, especially this being a research program, is that we're not holding each other up to like a very high standard, because a lot of people learn different ways. And knowing that we're going virtual this summer, many people may not learn that way very efficiently. So some people may find it a lot easier than others. So maybe kind of helping one another and not putting each other on such a high standard would probably help.
Thank you, Anthony. That's really good. And right, we all do. I'm a visual learner. Some of us learn in very different ways. And it's really, if you came to any of the alumni sessions, it's about helping each other. What you get out of Shine mostly are the friendships, the collaborations. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Alan, too.
One thing that maybe like I would suggest, I think that maybe it's like interesting was that like whenever we have like group discussions or something, maybe we could do something where like maybe like if there's like an idea session going on, like what I'm trying to get at is like maybe everybody can have like a chance to speak, if that makes sense. Because like I think that like if we're all, I guess, forced to speak or at least say like one sentence or something, then it'll help us like open up to each other and like know like you know understand each other. So like maybe like we could just do like more you know like sharing of ideas or something, like just kind of like how we're doing right now.
It's great. Now you didn't come up, so I didn't see who spoke.
Brenda.
Hey, Brenda, thank you. And you know, if speaking up on Zoom is a little intimidating, chat is another, like kind of like Anthony said, we respect that there are different ways.
I think that like for group norms that we should be like willing to take risks, and if like everybody's willing to take risks, then like if you make like a mistake, then it'll be really comfortable, so you don't have to like feel bad that you did it, because like when you fail, it's like a learning experience, and then that's like one thing we should all know.
It's so true in a group setting, it's so true in college, it's so true in engineering. So thank you very much, William. And I like the way Alan talked about, let's cut each other some slack. If we cross a line by accident, let's learn how to be able to talk about, hey, that crossed my line and let me tell you this, and try to deal with it as neutrally as possible. And let's take risks. We're gonna talk about that even more on Wednesday, but you cannot create new knowledge without taking risks. And also, Brenda, you can't create new knowledge without talking about it, without learning how to speak up. And we will spend a lot of time over these next 7 weeks getting practice speaking about it, because that is power. And I want you all to leave Shine with a greater sense of power, that you have the right to speak about what you've learned, about what the knowledge you've created, and also about your passion, your identity. All of that is really important to the production of knowledge. Okay, somebody else, please.
I think sort of like what Anthony said, where but not only with so being patient with each other, not only with virtual learning, but with the knowledge that like we're all coming in with, because I know that there's a wide range, and I know that just from the Discords and the other Zooms that we've had, you guys are all very talented and have a lot of knowledge that I know that I don't have, that I'd like to learn from, but I also need you guys to have patience. I know it's just speaking for myself, but probably for other people, because I don't know as much as you guys do.
Exactly, Hannah. Let's all have patience, and we purposely, we think, we're going to talk about this after the break, but diversity is important in life. Diversity is important in learning. If everybody came in with a 4.0 and an 800 math score on SAT, you wouldn't learn that much from each other. When you think about ecosystems, the more diverse ecosystems are the healthier ecosystems. We welcome everybody here. If you're not as advanced, if you don't know calculus, we also have different age groups, right? So some of you maybe haven't even had calculus. You're here on purpose, okay? You're here on purpose. It's not an accident. All right, let's see. Okay, it is 5 of, and I promised a break now. I'm gonna stay on. You could shut off your camera, go take a break, go something, stay and chat, whatever you want. Write something in the chat if you don't want, and come back at 10. I'm not taking roll right now, which means that you may not get an A for participation because I'm not taking roll, which is, okay, I said Shine's not like school. You don't get a grade, which means there's not a lot of explicit rules that are going to help you get an A. You do get a letter at the end of summer. It's a very detailed letter about the types of things you learned. It comes from your professor. It comes from your mentor. It comes from me. It's going to outline everything that you've learned. So it's in some ways it's harder than grades. Okay, but here's what I want to emphasize. There's no explicit way to get an A because there are no A's. Okay, I'm being a little rhetorical here because of course you can mess up. You can never come, which is a problem, which can be a problem in college because you don't have adults making sure you get up all the time. You don't have adults making sure you don't take drugs all night long. You don't have adults in college. And you don't have, I better stop saying all of that right now because that's beyond the point. The point is what I really want to start introducing you to is the implicit ways that may not be entirely stated for how you're going to do well in Shine, but what I'm really caring about, I don't really care how well you do in Shine. I want you to have a good time in Shine. What I want you to understand are the implicit parts that go into the production of scholarly knowledge. And so that's why I had you read some of the things that you are reading so that you can start figuring out how to learn the implicit parts of research groups. Okay, now, oops. Okay. In high school, when you do research, you know how to get an A doing research, or at least you have a rubric that tells you how you're going to get an A. And your research is finished by the end of the period. And you know that you did a good job because the Bunsen burner burned blue, right? That was the outcome, that within that hour or 2 hours, whatever, however long your lab is, the outcome is that you see that there's sodium because it burns blue, something like that. So compared to high school, there's so much going on in a research lab that so much of it is implicit. So how are you going to be able to recognize that? First of all, I would like to say that, of course, there's a lot that's implicit about high school. So you guys are really good at reading all sorts of implicit rules, right? But whether or not in 7 weeks remote, you can catch them all of what's going on in your lab, I think it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. And so we're here to help you. Okay. So this is, gets us into the readings that I asked you to do today, so that we could talk about the implicit rules that occur in science collaboration and in the business of science. So this is what I'm saying, that this is really going to be an exciting time to do research because so much is up for grabs because of COVID, because of Black Lives Matter. Okay, so, and very typical of college, rather than having a textbook, there may be a lot of different things that we ask you to look at that we ask you to synthesize together. And so what I've tried to do by giving you these 4 readings is give you things that teach you about how scholarly knowledge is produced without explicitly telling you. I could give you a list, but I'm not going to do that because what I'm trying to model for you is ways to read between the lines and start putting things together for yourselves. I think that people learn better that way. Now, we are a Research 1 university, and just like there's divisions in sports, similar divisions in research. Research 1, top level research where if you came to my orientation, you know that we have more graduate students in the Turby School of Engineering than we have undergraduates. That's a sign of a Research 1 university. You think we're here to teach you? Yes, we're to teach you how to become a scientist and maybe a researcher, but we're here to produce scholarly knowledge. Okay. Now there's a lot of things to learn from this article besides the fact that that there is systemic racism in scientific collaboration. I'm going to sort of show you the ways I'm thinking you could read through this rather than have a lot of discussion, just because I don't want to go over 2 hours today. But I could hang out afterwards. We could talk about any of this. I have office hours tomorrow. And these are things you can talk about if you don't have a chance to talk about it with me, your center mentors, or each other. Okay, I definitely do want to talk about systemic racism in scientific collaboration. Okay, one of the things I asked you to do is what can you understand about the business of science? They also call it the enterprise of science. And I take these words business and enterprise quite literally because nothing is free from money. People might say, find what you love and do it and the money will follow. And it's sort of true, but money drives a lot of things. And so why don't you take a moment and just think about all of the ways that this article helped you understand how to construct a view of how science operates. Just take a moment. If I get through all of this without going over, we can talk a little bit more. But think in your head. Okay, so here's the section Oh, I do want you to suggest some answers. Okay. A few bold people. Now, as Vrinda said, we want to give a chance for everybody to share. I would love somebody to unmute who hasn't shared yet. How do you learn? What did you learn from this article about how science does business? Anything. You could even just look at this passage. Who's brave enough to unmute and say something?
I went, but I could say something.
Well, Annika didn't go before. So
yeah.
Was that you, Annika?
Yeah. So I learned that like there's not that many like representation of like Black people like as scientists. So I feel like that's one way that like science is a business, because it's based on like how much opportunity and like money you have in order to like become a scientist.
Yeah, and when I'm talking about money, today I want you to understand where the money comes from to do research. Okay, so that's a good point. Now, how Annika, I'll put you on the spot. How did these Black researchers spread the word about their reaction to systemic racism?
I think they like organized like a movement or a protest.
Exactly. So organizations are one of the ways that science does business. There's two kinds of organizations that were mentioned here. And Annika, thank you for being so brave. I will see if there's somebody else who has not shared yet. There's two kinds of organizations in this article. So Annika mentioned the sort of informal ones, the ones that are just collaborators coming, like African Americans coming together, Black physicists, etc. There's another kind that's mentioned. Did anybody recognize the other kind of organization?
I saw that nature was one that was mentioned.
Great, okay. Nature is not just an organization, right? It's a publication. So there's a number of publications that were mentioned, and publication, like they mentioned, Science, Nature, ArcX. Okay. Did somebody who hasn't shared yet, did you notice an organization mentioned? It's not on this page.
Is it American Astronomical Society?
Exactly. Good, Joseph. Good. So yes, there are academic organizations. There are organizations that might be about people who are in academics, in research, but organized by their ethnic and racial identity, or their gender identity, or their sexual orientation. So there's a lot of different ways researchers connect with one another. And we're gonna hit on these today. Okay? Thank you, all of you, for sharing. Okay? So I'm gonna go to my next slide. Here are some other ways that you can see how researchers, what's their work, what's their business. Teaching, right? They could cancel classes, they have committee meetings, they communicate, and communication is something we're going to talk a lot about over these 7 weeks. Peer review, we're going to start talking about it today, and scientific collaboration. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff there to get from this pretty short article. All right, now I think that we are taught, especially in high school, that science is quite neutral. And what these professors are so upset about is that it's really not that neutral. That systemic racism is a problem not only in society, but in the ivory tower, in these places where we like to pretend that everybody has equal opportunity, right? So I'm glad, I think it was Anthony mentioned the lead scientific journals, and usually scientific journals are part of an organization. I asked you to read an article from the Journal of the American Medical Association, right? An academic organization, a journal. They go hand in hand, all right? Yeah, Annika talked about the activist organizations, and we've kind of talked about the academic ones. Okay, let's keep going. All right, where does the money come from? So I want you to be aware of the National Institute of Health. The money for research basically comes from federal tax dollars. It might also come from foundations like the Gates Foundation, like the Chan Zuckerberg Foundation. There's the Broad Foundation. There's a lot of foundations. But it's important to know that research is very expensive, and a lot of it comes from federal dollars. A lot of medical research comes from the National Institute of Health. You can see almost $42 billion a year. In engineering, most of the 40% of the research comes from the National Science Foundation. You don't have to memorize this. This is not going to be on a test or anything, but I do want you to know that research is driven by dollars. Okay? It's just a fact. It's just a fact. We don't have to love it. We don't have to hate it. It's just a fact. I want you to be aware of it. Okay, we're going to talk more about National Science Foundation, the NSF, in the next week and two. Okay. Now back to this article. Dr. Nord says that we need to rethink how scientific collaborations are, and SHINE is a scientific collaboration. It's not the same as what goes on in Dr. Nord's lab, all right? But we wanted to be able to talk about ways that science collaboration is failing certain people. And it's not only Black people, but that's what we're going to focus on right now, okay? Because of what's up right now. Now, we're going to talk about race. It's not comfortable for a lot of people to talk about race, but like I said, we are all chosen to be here, and all of our differences make us stronger as a scientific collaboration here. So nobody has to be, I don't have to apologize for being white. Nobody has to apologize for being here, but let's take a look, all right? This is the ethnic, the self-reported ethnic makeup of the cohort. I haven't included the center mentors in here, but let's take a look. There are no African-American students in this cohort. So there is obviously work for SHINE to do, all right? We will be doing it, okay? Next year, we're gonna have more African-American students in SHINE, okay? I want us to be comfortable acknowledging difference, because if we sweep it under the rug, we can't make a change, all right? So systemic racism is a lot like implicit rules, and what I'm trying to do is help you be more aware of what's implicit, okay? So we are doing scientific collaboration at an important time. Now, we're not colorblind. We're all welcome, and as we talked about with group norms, and we will type them up and we will share them with you, we may accidentally cross a line every once in a while, and you have the right to let somebody know if they've teased you in a way that you don't appreciate, if they've made a stereotype about you that you don't appreciate. We are all going to learn from each other, and what goes on in the research part of what we learn in SHINE is important, but also in the collaboration and discussion part. Okay, whoops. So as I said, even here within, for undergraduates, we have women in science and engineering, and I know Erica is a member of this. She's probably a member of other things. We have a lot more than these groups. There's SHIP, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. There's NSBE. There's all sorts of organizations. So we can identify each other by our majors or where we're doing our research, by our ethnicity, by our gender, by our sexual orientation. There's all sorts of ways, and there's all sorts of room for everybody at this table. Like I said, diversity is key to life. And so we're gonna live it all here in SHINE. We all good with this? If you're good, give us a nod, okay? Can I get buy-in for all of this? from all of you. And if this makes you uncomfortable, you can let me know about it, okay? Okay, back to Dr. Nord and to Dr. Prescott Weinstein. Now, one of the things I liked about this article too is that they talked about being your age and being in love with STEM, okay? So I hope that you are all in love with STEM to a certain degree. And I want to say that passion, we're going to talk about character in a minute, are also really key to good scientific collaboration, right? Now, Anthony, I love Anthony. He's always asks a lot of questions. And he participated in the last, the 2 alumni panels. And one of the questions he asked is, do I have to choose between humanities and STEM? And from just my own personal experience, I grew up in a humanities family, arts and the humanities. I rebelled and went into STEM. And then later I went back into the humanities. And so I don't think you have to choose either. But we're going to talk about this a little bit more too. So Anthony, I hope I'm going to answer your question today. All right. So your passion is an important part, and we're going to, everything that we look at this week is going to be including passion. Let's shift a little bit more to character. The other things I really like about what Dr. Nord says is in paragraph 19, he talks about, I've had the privilege to find and create knowledge for fellow humans. So like I said, this week's theme is how do you produce knowledge? That's the role of researchers. He also says that academia's core mission is to build a better society for everyone. So research just for research isn't enough. It's got to benefit society. And so now we're going to talk about that a little bit more. Okay, those are key things I really want you to get out of this article. Okay, then I asked you to read this memo. So we went from a piece in the New York Times to a memo that was sent by the dean. And you can see how the things that Dr. Nord said are reflected in what the dean says. Now, in case you're not clear, what is a dean? Maybe you don't even know exactly what a memo is, but memos are part of business communication. So this comes out under the official letterhead of the School of Engineering. What is a dean? So in the organization of a university, especially a private university, we have the trustees. These are the people that oversee, they hire and fire our president. Carol Folt is our president. Under that is the provost. There are also, under the provost, there's like vice president of research. Well, but right now, Professor Maya Materik, who's the roboticist, she's currently the acting vice president of research. So she's really high up. The provost is in charge of the faculty and the intellectual rigor of a university. Under the provost are the deans and vice deans. So they are very high up the chain. So he's the dean. He's also a professor, a named chair. And if you were on campus, you would know that we have one of our buildings is called Caprillion. So these are all things. These are kind of, when you're in the university, you start to learn how to recognize these things. I want you to start recognizing these implicit things now. Then there's a real hierarchy of faculty. About 70% of faculty in universities these days are adjuncts or contingent. That's what I was when I was teaching. It means I never had the opportunity to enter the tenure track. This is a higher rank. And then once you're on the tenure track for about 5 years, you get tenure. That means you have a job for life that protects your intellectual freedom. Under faculty are the, I didn't put postdocs in here. Usually after you graduate with your PhD, you become a postdoc for about 3 years, and then you go on usually to become a tenure track professor. If you choose academic career, you might go into industry instead. So there's a real hierarchy. And then underneath faculty is staff. I'm staff. I run not only a program, but the SHINE program, but the centers, just so you know. Now, I think I threw in this slide at the last minute. Yeah. Principal investigators at the top of the pyramid. Postdocs, staff scientists. You might have graduate students, undergraduates, and other staff. So I just want you to know that, okay? Just don't have to memorize it. You're not going to get tested on it, but you will understand. And we'll do a reading next for Wednesday that talks about why in the lab when you're in the research group, you work with these people because the PI is off either at a conference or writing a grant or doing a grant report, because it's basically the principal investigator's role to keep the money coming in that funds the research that cures cancer. Okay, so back to Dr. Nord's quotes. And what I want to have you understand is that in SHINE, you have firsthand experience at seeing how scholarly knowledge is produced. So that's what I want you to understand. Okay, now going into Professor Dean Yortzos' memo, he talks about thought leadership and vision. He talks about questioning the impact. And this is the thing about academics and production of scholarly knowledge, is that we're always questioning what we know. We're always looking for the gap in research. And I want you to be able to recognize that, all right? It's pretty easy once you know to look for it, to recognize it. But if you don't know to look for it, then scholarly publications become really scary. I don't want them to be scary. There's a few tricks that I'm going to teach you starting today, okay? But what I think is really important about what Dean Yortzos talks about is that development of character is equally important as technological competence, right? So if you think that coming to SHINE is all about learning to use the pipettes, all about writing the algorithms, all about being able to turn the Bunsen burner flame blue, then you're wrong. Passion and character are very much a part of scientific collaboration. So that's what I say. But we chose you on purpose. What you bring here in part is your character. So you are important to the diversity of the production of scholarly knowledge, okay? And so Anthony, this is also partly why you don't have to choose between humanities and, who's that, your sister? Anthony, is that your sister? Okay, all right. Now, Professor Yortzos, if you can't tell from his name, he is Greek. He's from Greece, and that's the seat of Western white civilization, right? Character, if you've ever had to read the Odyssey or the Iliad or any of that stuff, right? Character and the humanities. All right, so I would like you to start recognizing these things: thought leadership and vision, questioning impact, and character. Okay, we all good on this? Good? Nod so I could see you. Okay. All right, now let's go to the third reading. Okay, this is, as I said, this is a publication. Well, we'll talk about it. Okay, first thing, what does this article have to do with the three things I want you to get from Dean Yortzos? Okay, can somebody unmute and tell me, how do you know that this is thought leadership and vision? Somebody who hasn't shared yet, unmute. How do you know that that's what this is? What can you point to on this slide?
Well, in this specific article, I just appreciated the use of like a lot of data, like that. That really helped, convince me, because I respond a lot better to, data-driven arguments.
Great, thank you, Asa. How do you know it's thought leadership, though? True, and what I love here is that he does such a great job of blending his passion and his character with evidence. And like I said, oh my God, there's a lot of vocabulary words. He says things in a very academic way. How else do you know that this is thought leadership? If you're not familiar with that term, it might be, he wants to influence how we think. Just look at this slide. How else, somebody who hasn't spoken yet, how do you know?
I think he does a really good job of stating the huge issue that's happening, but also pointing to the future, like asking us the question of like, where do we go from here? How do we now, this has been pointed out as such a major problem in like scientific and other communities, like how do we make that bridge to solve it and start like working on it?
Great. Who was that? I don't see everybody on my screen.
I'm Scarlett.
Okay, good, Scarlett. Yeah, the future, that's a vision, right? You don't have a vision about the past, right? You have a vision about the future, and he really hits that hard. Okay, there's something.
I have something to add.
Nico,
for thought leadership.
Yeah.
I think he puts a lot of emphasis on the case disparities in African American, communities, and he repeats a lot of throughout shows the statistics and stuff for how much more African American communities are affected by the COVID virus.
Yeah.
And I think that just really, that emphasis really drives home his point.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he uses the comparison of COVID to the disparities to kind of illuminate them, because COVID is something so real that everyone is going through right now, but the healthcare disparities aren't as evident and easy to see. So he compares them to prove that just how prevalent the disparities are, especially when he says like the scourge of COVID will end, but the healthcare disparities won't.
Yes, right. You guys are all doing a really good job of reading. And I think like Nico and Asa said, that it's way more convincing when he uses our evidence, scholarly knowledge to articulate his vision, to do his thought leadership. All right, now you guys are too smart, all right? And I'm looking for something on this slide. I'm looking for something even more obvious than your really good observations.
It says
lets you know.
It says viewpoint, like as the, yeah.
Yes,
and that's
excellent.
like thought leadership, so.
Exactly. Okay, good. And who said that?
It was me, William.
Okay, well, which William, P or K?
P.
Okay, great. And let's see if my next slide does it. Yeah, good. And you see it says opinion up there. Okay, all right, you guys are great. All right, so thought leadership, and he's got a vision for better humanity. So, right, see how many Dean Yortzos talked about better humanity. Dr. Nord did as well, right? So these are lofty goals, right? Production of knowledge and a vision for humanity. This is not turning the Bunsen burner flame blue, right? This is big stuff here. All right, you guys are doing great. There's a lot of things that I also wanted you to learn about the production of scholarly knowledge. Like, if you remember what % of people have COVID from this, that's great, but that's not what you need to do. This Shine is not really about learning about COVID per se. What I want you to learn is about scientific collaboration from this piece. Okay, so here's a few things that I want you to start noticing, right? Who is this guy, right? Think about the word authority and how author is like 3/4 of it, right? In this realm, in the production of scholarly knowledge. Now, this doesn't mean that you yourselves right now as 16, 17, 15 years old aren't capable of producing knowledge. You are. That's why you're here. But in the realm of academia, start noticing. Now, there's only one author here. The other thing that I asked you to look for has multiple authors, and that I want you to start noticing that kind of stuff. Notice, where do they come from? All right. This is a clue to learning when something is peer reviewed. All right. And let's be clear, there are hierarchies of authority. I already talked about them in research groups, right? You've already learned that an organization, the American Medical Association in this case, are part of the systemic ways scholarly knowledge is produced. Systemic itself is not necessarily a bad word, all right? There are systems for producing knowledge. The university is a system for producing knowledge. The American Medical Association and the journals that all of us publish in are systems, okay? So just start noticing. So you could see, like, you've already learned about the viewpoint. You've already, oops, I clicked too fast, but that's okay. You've already learned that it says viewpoint. You've already learned that it says opinion. Start looking for these things. I told you to look for questions. He uses a lot of questions. A lot of scholarly publications do. So always notice the questions, okay? And what is he doing? He's questioning the impact, right? We have all of this data. Does it qualify as evidence of healthcare disparities? Absolutely, all right? So I'm teaching you how to read these things, how to notice the moves when scholarly knowledge is being produced. It's being produced for you, the reader, right here, all right? His passion. Passion has a place in scholarly knowledge. And if you look, researchers always talk about the gap in research. That's the whole reason you start new research, is that maybe you found, Sarah was talking about looking at, Sarah, I'm going to mangle it, so forgive me and don't try to correct me, because the point is that you look to see the antibiotics in the water, and you look to see if your DNA method found it, and then you go, oh, maybe my DNA method didn't do such a good job, and here's a new test that can do it. And so that's the gap that the new test discovers. Okay? We all good? Any questions? Anybody want to say anything? No? I can't see everybody, so yell out. All right. Okay. So you guys already did such a good job of articulating the evidence, right? He cites, and you know, now, is this a peer-reviewed article?
No.
How'd you know?
It only has one author, and there's no indication where it says it was reviewed or anything.
Good, you're right, Jacob. Now, it's possible that something can have one author and be peer-reviewed. So that itself is not, you know, you have to dig deeper than that. The fact that it says it's a viewpoint and an opinion, that tells you it's not peer-reviewed. Oops. But you do know he's citing evidence, he's using footnotes, he's citing evidence, okay? And I don't really, like I already said, I'm looking at you to see the type of authority he cites more than the facts. The facts are important, the facts are interesting, right? But it's not, we're not learning about COVID here, we're learning about the production of scholarly knowledge, okay? Okay, now, and as Nico, Asa, and Stella already said, the fact that he's using evidence makes it very convincing. But what I also want you to see is that this website shows you related articles. So let's look. Oh, before we do that, character is equally important. So this is what Dean Yortso said. So I'm trying to help you weave together all of these themes, right? He says it takes will to overcome these health disparities, all right? And that is you are the next generation of scientists and leaders. And this is why I want you to learn this stuff, because I need each one of you to have the will to make these changes, just as I have the will to make these changes. They are too slow. That's all I can say. They're too slow. Okay, Black Lives Matter. All right, this is weaving together these various themes. Now, that's basically what he's saying, that health disparities, he's basically saying. Now, he said that in, I think it was April. I'm going to come back to the point of Black Lives Matter. Okay, now, if I am on the JAMA website and I click related articles, it shows me all the articles in this volume, or this April 15th publication. And you can see that there are others, that an original investigation, that means it's been peer reviewed. The way medical journals are set up is a little bit different than the way engineering journals are set up, but I'm just going to tell you right now that it's peer reviewed. All right, so here again, that it's not just peer reviewed, that thinking about it is part of the production of scholarly knowledge, and that what's important is you're always questioning your impact. And how do you do this? These are all the ways that we've been talking about already. Okay. Now, if I look at this article, which I did not assign to you to read because I didn't want you to read it, but there are certain things I want you to start looking for. And so if I click this, this is what I get. And okay, we've got multiple authors. We only have 2, but I have the next few slides that kind of show you maybe not every single page, but if I gave this to you to read last night, it would have scared you. All right, it's long, it's complicated. And so what I want to teach you is how to read these kinds of articles and what to skip. All right, I want you to read the abstract. In a medical journal, in this one, they've told you the key points. Can you see this? On my screen, it has my navigation bar above it. It's, oops, what was it? Let me go back.
No, we don't see any bar. It's just the
Okay.
PowerPoint.
What does it say? Introduction?
It says introduction on the right, and then
Yeah.
it has the first page on the left.
Okay. So, introduction. I want you to read the abstract and the introduction when you get to these things. All right. And here's a heuristic. If you know that word, it's a great word. It's a Greek word. I'll spell it for you later. IMRAD. IMRAD. Look at the intro. Okay, next is methods. I want you to skip methods. All right. You have to be at least in your research group for at least 7 weeks before you can begin to understand the methods. Don't try to read it. I know some of you are very eager. When I was in college, we used to call those people red hots. If they still use that term, if you're a red hot, you could read this, but I suggest not, because you'll just feel like you will never understand. Results. Can anybody tell me why results and discussion are traditionally kept separate in peer-reviewed publications? Does anybody know?
I assume because results is more based on evidence and discussion is more based on the interpretation of that evidence and data findings.
That's exactly right, Anthony, right? That's the both implicit and explicit role of scientific inquiry is, right? We just look at the data. We don't we don't introduce bias into our data collection. But you can see from Dr. Nord is that actually there's a lot of ways bias slips in. But that's the reason results and discussion are always separated, okay? So even, I'm gonna suggest you skip over results, because at this point, as a high school student, if you can understand why the research is being done, what's the gap in research, what is the reflection upon research that is driving this particular study, and you can understand what they think they found, because you have to get into graduate school before you have enough knowledge to be able to say, this is why their research had another gap. So I think that you can generally understand the abstract and the discussion. Now, there's nothing in this quick thing about limitations, but you'll notice that ethical research always talks about see, basically limitations is like, here's the gaps in even our research, and here's where our next research project might take off from. So that's good research. In the intro, you always talk about what is the gap that you're addressing, and towards the end, whether it's in your discussion or in something that's called limitations, it's not always called the same thing. It'll say, here's where we need to do more research, okay? So if you learn to recognize those things, and then you just skip over methods and results for right now, you're good. You're gonna understand this stuff, okay? Okay, we clear on this? You're just gonna drive yourself crazy if you start trying to understand methods. Now, when you start working with your Shine mentor, he or she may be able to show you in the publication, like, look, this is what you're learning how to do. But really, just stick to this. Now, I'm introducing this to you now because we're gonna start looking at scholarly literature on Friday. Your PhD mentors and your PIs have identified publications that they want you to read. Some of them gave them to you already, and I hope you didn't freak out too much, all right? This is where you're gonna find this stuff, and that's what we're focusing on. Okay, I did ask you to look at the first page of this article. You notice I didn't give you a link to it. I didn't want you to read the article. I wanted you to look and start recognizing some things. Now, this is actually the web version, and I took a picture of the PDF version. But let's look at this for a minute. Does anybody see IMRAD here?
The abstract is right here. So.
Okay. Who said that?
It was me, William P.
Okay, William P. Okay.
Or it's actually on the bottom right. There's a section.
There you go. All right. Right. It's not exact, like they don't say introduction, but you see the results. So I want you to say it's not always going to be articulated in just as IMRAD, but if that helps you remember what to look for, okay, good, really good, okay. You can see that you could download the PDF and the abstract, all right. Did you notice in the abstract, where's the evidence, where's the argument? Like if you just look at this abstract, does the argument come first or does the evidence come first? Just look at the first sentence. Go ahead, Rachel.
I think the evidence comes first because they're talking about like 2,000 for men and like 1 in 30,000 for women. And then the last sentence says like their conclusion.
Exactly. Really good. Even that first sentence, look, we use data. All right. This is one of the implicit rules in scholarly publications is that you foreground the data and then you punch through with the argument, okay? All right, you guys are doing great. Where does this come from? where this comes from tie back to one of the things that we've been emphasizing today? Who can unmute who hasn't spoken yet?
Does it come from the organization, the National Academy of Sciences?
Exactly.
Of the US?
Yep. Okay, so you guys you are getting an A today. Even though you don't get grades, you're getting an A because you're doing this so well. All right. Now let me go to my next. Oh, yeah. Okay. I had these slides. I made these slides, and then I watched John Oliver this weekend. And oh my God, he has this in his latest. He does. It goes so fast. It was like, it's only because I like cut and paste these slides that I recognized it. How many of you watched John Oliver? Okay, he uses a lot of F words. But he's a thought leader. He uses comedy as a method for doing it. But if you take a look, and if you don't mind the F words, you will see this go by super fast. Okay, so IMRAD, you already saw that. We got the author authority, got the organization. You guys are doing great. Now, this is the version that you actually looked at, okay? So, right, here's its conclusion that Rachel already pointed out to us. Now, that's pretty sobering. We've got a number of young men of color here, right here in this Zoom. You guys, it's pretty serious stuff. So you see, I'm not talking about COVID right now. I'm talking about Black Lives Matter, talking about police force. You know, we all come to Zoom, we come to Shine with a lot of different political orientations. But this is a way of looking at evidence that is driving thought leadership, and also systemic racism. Look at the date that this was published. This was published almost a year ago. All right. So it's taken us until George Floyd was killed, after a long number of murders or police killing Black men, that we get the will to rise against systemic racism, even as scientists. All right. Now, this article also is really interesting, the way it talks about evidence and the way they got evidence. This is more of a social studies thing than even a scientific thing, but you'll see, if you look at it, if you care to go back, that they use a lot of journalism. They use, because the data that they had access to, they had to figure in their methods, they had to figure out a way to get access to the data. Now, you could argue against their methods, and I'm sure that social scientists do. We're not going to go there. But what I'm hoping that you can see here is that if you look for abstract, intro, methods, results, discussion, you will see it. There we go. This is like your abstract here. This talks about methods here. All right. And this is where it talks about the journalistic information. Okay. So let's take a big breath. You did it. You're done with today. But then there's always Wednesday. So I have a vision for a better Shine. And so I've picked 4 more things for you to look at for Wednesday. And they're not long. So one's an article that's written by a chemistry professor who he's talking to other professors and PhD students about how to mentor undergraduate students. But I think that you'll learn a lot, even though you're not an undergraduate student. And what I'm starting to open up here with this theme of readings is not only the production of scholarly knowledge, but the journey that production takes, okay? Now, Professor Ulan in Israel does a really great job in his TED Talk about this. So you don't just have to read. This is a great TED Talk. But then I'm also going to have you read one of his articles that repeats some of the things in the TED Talk, but you definitely want to do it in this order because he's so charming. And it's more fun to watch than to read. And then there's a quick infographic about how to read a scientific paper. So you're going to see a lot of the stuff that I just told you. You're just getting it from another person. Now, as far as I understand, that you will, I think that you all have something set up with your mentor or your professor or something this afternoon. It might be, everybody might be at slightly different times and stuff like that. I also believe that the center mentors have reached out to you and have arranged some way to get together in your sub cohort. All right. And I believe you all have each other's email addresses and you're all on Slack together. So there are a million different ways for you to get together and start talking to one another and meeting one another. I think this is my last slide. Yes. So let me look at you all again. And no more notes. Okay. All right. Look at that. It's 10:58. We did all this. I need to take a breath. Okay. Thank you, you all. This is going to be a really fun 7 weeks. If I haven't answered any questions, I didn't want to shove everything down the first day. I will tomorrow or Wednesday, I will talk more about what's going to happen after 4th of July. There will be a number of short assignments that you won't get graded on, but you will get feedback on. We're going to do library research. You're going to learn how to do an annotated bibliography because these are things that a lot of people come to college not knowing, and it gives you power to know it. We are going to practice talking about the social benefits of the research that we're doing. We're going to learn how to talk about that because that's really important. Going to learn how to talk about the science behind it. We are going to end these 7 weeks with posters and with a PowerPoint talk. I'll talk about more about that. There is going to be a college admissions session, and we are going to ask you to write one of the UC questions write about an experience outside of the classroom. We're going to ask you to write about your Shine experience. You can use it or not when you actually apply to college, but we want you to have that experience doing it, and we'll give you some feedback. So there's a lot to come. So, okay. You have a 2-hour break unless you're like Alan, I'm sorry. Is it Alan, your Professor Bermejo Moreno is going to talk to you in 15 minutes or something like that? Okay. I'll hang out. And if the center mentors want to hang out too, if you haven't had a chance to ask a question or you just want to say hi, you can do that. Don't worry, if you're ready to eat or get a cup of coffee and you don't want to hang out, that's okay. I'll see you on office hours tomorrow. We will always use this Zoom for our group meetings, our full cohort meetings, and also for my office hours. So you guys finished your first morning of Shine. Congratulations. You were great. You did a good, yeah, I see Paula clapping. Give yourselves a good, yep, you did it, yay.